Hi, my name is David Johnson. I'm a freelance illustrator and the 2D lead for an indie video game called Arcane Knights. And this is the first of a two-part tutorial dealing with speed painting and secondly rendering. So all of the speed painting that I'm doing here is done with two programs. MyPaint for the strength of the brush engine, open source, and the GIMP, which is also open source, and I use that for image editing and a little bit of painting as well. So let's get started. I decided to work on an idea for some ruins out near a river. And I'm just working on two layers here. I did a quick layer for the frame of the image, and then I'm painting underneath that. I'm just doing a grayscale right now, massing in the foreground, establishing basic value relationships for the image. And I don't have a clear idea yet what's going to happen, but just keeping in mind the basic idea that darker shapes come in the foreground and lighter shapes recede into the background due to atmospheric interference. Starting to pull out some rough shapes for the ruins, establish where the river is, getting the bank going, and paying close attention to lighting and edges and overall shapes. I'm zoomed out so that the thumbnail size is apparent and allows me to focus on the overall composition. Right now I'm establishing the darker values in the foreground for plant matter and the broken ruin shapes. Let's see, I'm just using a round brush at 50% opacity, mostly using straight black, occasionally bouncing down to other scales on the other values in the scale. You'll see that on the right hand side of the image I've mapped out 5 quick values for reference while I'm working on the photo, working on the image. And we've got working on the trees and the foliage in the background, as well as some pathways and interesting angles and directions for the eye to follow through the image. Nothing's too detailed right now, and it's all sort of subject to change. Trying to avoid having anything that's pure white, because pure white, A, doesn't exist in reality, and B, sort of skews the value scale of the entire image, so you'll see very little pure white poking through as I work on this. Let's see. Right now I'm adding in some lighter values, pushing some of the objects back, determining where the light from the sky is bouncing down and landing on objects. So lightening up parts of the river, as well as offsetting the profiles of the different parts of the land in this scene. It's useful oftentimes to flip the image to keep yourself from making too many mistakes from rendering only from one side. Oftentimes your eyes get tired, or your attention span can drift a little bit, and you'll forget to pay attention to some things that'll become obvious if you flip the image. It helps establish a sense of balance when bouncing back and forth from side to side like that. You can see I'm messing around with a couple of different brush options. You can basically render everything with just a standard round brush or a flat brush. Right now I'm using a sort of scatter texture brush to add some texture for plant matter and that sort of thing. And now switching to a flat brush for its harder edges, and it's just a mark making tool that I'm most familiar with from standard traditional media. So beginning to work in those little details that take it from a rough image to a more honed image. Working with the flat brush, just doing some general mark making for plant matter, and working in the straighter lines on the architecture, that sort of thing. Flipping back to the first view, pulling out some highlights, working in some of the darker spots on the ruined temple in the foreground. Let's see. And it's good to not focus too long on working on one part of the image. It's good to keep moving around the entire canvas so that no matter where you stop in the production of the image, it will look somewhat unified. Working in the clouds right now, going back to the round brush. The clouds are sort of moving in menacingly from the right-hand side of the image, choking out the light source a little bit. Just adds to the foreboding of this ruined scene. Put this tree in the foreground not only to indicate the variety of plant life that's in this area, but also just to have something that's dark and full of high contrast in the foreground, so that the image reads well as it recedes into the distance, which is something you'll see a lot in just about any concept art piece or illustration that's attempting to illustrate depth. Putting reflections in on the water from the ground, shadows as well. Some highlights on the branches in the tree. Let's see, we're working on some of the here we go. I'm using another sort of randomized brush to add some quick texture. The goal here is not to render this thing out completely right now, but to just give an overall sense of texture and value. So doing a little cleanup on the building in the distance. Further honing and refining the shapes, the positive and negative space between objects that are closer and those that are further away. And you'll find that I'm pulling less from the value scale on what is currently the left-hand side of the image, and more from the image itself, so that the values are a bit more localized, and it just tends to lend itself to the internal logic of the picture. So most of what you're seeing right now is just detailing and bringing out some of the smaller bits of information to help bring this to a clear spot. Now we've moved the image over to the GIMP, and we've added a new layer. Set the layer mode from normal to overlay, so that we can sort of tint this image to establish color values really quickly. This is one of many ways to achieve color in an image, but when you're working quickly, sometimes it helps to just be able to tint the image with an overlay or multiply layer. I'm using sort of a smoke brush here at I think 30% opacity, so that I can add these colors in gradually. Started with that base green, added in some orange to give it sort of that sepia tone, and working on the blue as well. Trimming the image up. Using the dodge brush to lighten things in the background, and the burn tool to accent the higher contrast stuff in the foreground, as well as to darken up the edges of the image so that the focus is on where the light is hitting in the center. Bounce back to MyPaint, assign the image, and pretty much there we go. So in the next one, we're going to go from this speed painting to doing a full render of the image. So that one took about an hour to speed paint in total, so it's been fast forwarded about 6 times as fast. And the next step is to render it out completely. So thanks for watching, and hopefully you'll stick around for the next one. Bye.